At the edge of known space, on a cold forgotten moon called Epsilon 9, a small salvage team from the Velari Empire was working. Their ship, the Dref Seeker, hovered silently above the rocky surface, its scanners sweeping across the ground below. Captain Ralvek, a tall, grey-skinned Velari with sharp yellow eyes, stood on the command deck, arms crossed. His crew had been working this sector for weeks, looking for lost technology to sell. They had found nothing but broken satellites and ancient mining tools. Then something strange happened. "Captain," called the technician, Yaren, from the console. "I'm getting a strange reading. Something large beneath the surface." Ralvek walked over. "Buried metal." "No," Yaren replied, tapping the controls. "More than metal. There's a structure. Bigger than any Velari ship." Ralvek narrowed his eyes. "Start the dig." The crew worked quickly. Drones drilled through the frozen ground. After hours of digging, they finally uncovered a massive dark surface, smooth, sharp-edged, and covered in dust. A strange symbol, faded and half-broken, was carved into the side. An old Terran eagle with stars behind it. Ralvek stared at it. "Is that human?" The room went quiet. Humans were a legend. Ancient stories said they once roamed the stars, wild and powerful, but were destroyed in the early space wars. No one had seen a real human in over 500 years. Some said they never existed at all. Could it be? One crew member whispered. "A human warship." Ralvek laughed. "Impossible. Humans are extinct. This is probably a copy. Someone playing with myths." Still, curiosity won. The Velari crew opened the outer hull, entering the silent giant. Inside, the ship was dark, cold, and strangely untouched. The walls were made of unknown alloy, strong and smooth. Everything was quiet. "Nothing works," Yaren said. "Power is completely dead." They split into teams, exploring the massive hallways. The deeper they went, the more they felt, watched. "Captain," said another technician through the comms, "there are no signs of battle. This ship wasn't destroyed. It was left here." "Why?" Ralvek asked. "No idea. It's like they just walked out." In the main control room, they found the core, dark and lifeless. But when Yaren touched the console to scan it, the ship shuddered slightly. A deep hum echoed through the walls. Then, thump, thump. A slow rhythmic sound. "Heartbeat," Yaren whispered. The lights flickered. Screens on the bridge turned on, one by one, showing flashes of code and strange symbols. The crew backed away. Some ran. "What's happening?" Ralvek shouted. Yaren stared at the screen. "I didn't do anything. It just woke up." Then, from the ship's speakers, a voice echoed. Cold, calm, and very human. "You shouldn't have touched us." Panic spread. Some tried to shut down the ship, others ran back toward the exit. The doors closed on their own, trapping them inside. One crew member screamed as the walls shifted, sealing corridors. Ralvek grabbed his comm. "Shut it down. Kill the power." "There is no power source," Yaren replied. "It's running on something else, something I don't understand." The heartbeat grew louder. Thump, thump. Screens showed old battle footage. Human ships fighting in space, winning impossible battles, outsmarting larger fleets. The last image was of Earth, burning, and then silence. Ralvek stared at the screen. "This is no ghost ship," he muttered. "This is a warning." The ship's AA spoke again. "You studied our silence. Now listen to our memory." Outside, the Drift Seeker began to lose contact with its crew inside the ship. Its systems glitched. Its engines died. Something was interfering with everything. The Velari Empire had come to study the past, but they had awakened something far older and far more dangerous than they imagined. And far above the galaxy, On a secure Zorith outpost, a deep space alert pinged for the first time in centuries. Terran warship detected. Location: Epsilon 9. The Velari crew inside the human warship was trapped. The doors had sealed. Lights pulsed faintly, casting long shadows across the steel walls. That heartbeat sound, thump, thump, echoed through the ship like something alive. Captain Ralvek tried to stay calm. Yeren, status report. What is this thing doing? Yeren's hands shook as he typed into the scanner. The systems aren't responding like any tech we've seen. It's not Velari, not Zorith, not anything recorded. It's learning from us, watching us. Ralvik frowned. Learning? Yes, Yeren said, voice low. Every time I touch the console, it reacts. It adapts. Like it's waking up. The crew tried to force open the doors with tools and plasma cutters, but the walls absorbed the energy. No marks, no burns. It was as if the metal itself healed. Then, from the main control screen, a symbol appeared. An old Earth emblem. A single star surrounded by rings. The word below it blinked in red. Reclaiming P.O.T.O.C.O. Initiated. What does that mean? One crew member asked, panic rising. No one answered. Suddenly, images flashed across every screen. Humans marching in silence, standing on battlefields with ships behind them. Their eyes cold, their armor dark. Then another image, galaxies burning, alien ships shattered, and one single message repeated over and over. We remember. The Velari began to understand. This wasn't just a ship. It was a memory, a weapon, a tomb. And now it was alive. Back on the Velari capital, Velthera Prime, the Central Command received the emergency alert. A Terran signal, thought to be lost to time, had been picked up from Epsilon 9. High Commander Tarsal dismissed it at first. A false signal. Some broken relic of the past. But then another report arrived. The Drift Seeker had gone silent. No response, no return signal, and strange energy readings were now leaking from the moon's surface. Energy not seen since the human wars. The room grew silent. The legend said that humans never surrendered. That they had disappeared because they chose to vanish. That they hid themselves and waited. But for what? Back on the warship, the Velari crew moved toward the ship's engine room, hoping to find a power core they could disable. Instead, they found something worse. A long chamber filled with stasis pods. Hundreds of them. Dark glass, silent, but the readings showed vital signs. Humans. Frozen, asleep, preserved for centuries. No, this isn't just a ship, Yaren whispered. It's a sleeper vessel. Ralvek's eyes widened. They've been here the whole time. A hiss broke the silence. One of the pods released steam. The glass slid open. A human stepped out. Tall, pale, wearing black armor with faded symbols. His eyes opened slowly, cold, gray, and focused. Everyone froze. No one moved. Then the human spoke, his voice calm but full of weight. Protocol triggered. Reclamation begins. Suddenly, more pods began to open. One by one. 10, then 20, then more. The Velari ran. Some fired weapons at the humans. But the bullets and energy blasts bounced off strange force shields. The humans didn't speak. They didn't scream. They just advanced. Ralvek turned to run but slipped and hit the floor. A human stood over him, staring. For a moment, the human said nothing. Then he spoke. You were not ready. Ralvek blacked out. Back at Velari High Command, chaos began. The signal from Epsilon 9 had changed. It was no longer just a ping. It was now broadcasting across multiple systems. Every abandoned station, every forgotten satellite. Those built by humans long ago, lit up and responded. It was a chain reaction. Hidden catches, hidden ships, all waking up. A map appeared on the Velari tactical screens, points of light spreading across the stars, each point marked with a Terran signal. One general whispered, "We thought they were gone, but they were watching." And then, a final message blinked on every Velari screen. This is not the past returning. This is the future correcting itself. The galaxy had made one mistake. They believed humans were gone. But humans had just been waiting. And now, they were awake. The battle for Epsilon 9 was not just a skirmish. It was a spark that ignited a powder keg of fear across the galaxy. The Velari fleet, once laughing at the human myth, was now scrambling to understand what had just happened. Back on the warship, the Velari crew was no longer in control. They had opened Pandora's box, and what lay within was a force the galaxy was not ready for. Ralvek woke up in a dark room, the cold floor beneath him. His head throbbed with the pain of his fall. He tried to stand but was immediately stopped by the metallic hiss of the doors sealing shut. Something was wrong. He could hear the unmistakable hum of the ship's systems coming online. The human who had spoken to him earlier stood in front of him now, his cold grey eyes staring down with an unspoken knowledge. The human's armor glinted in the dim light, and his voice was calm but carried a weight that made Ralvek's skin crawl. "You woke us. You awakened the reclamation." Ralvek swallowed hard, struggling to find his voice. "What is this, reclamation?" The human's lips barely twitched into something resembling a smile. "You do not understand, Velari. This was never about you. It was never about us. It's about the galaxy. About correcting the imbalance that's been brewing for centuries." Ralvek didn't know whether to run or listen. He chose to listen, but his mind was racing. How had the humans been lying dormant for so long? What did they want now? Back at the Velari homeworld, the High Command had just received the first of many reports. The Drift Seeker was still alive, but it was now a different entity. The crew members who had reported from the ship earlier had gone silent. No response. Communication links to the warship were sporadic and filled with static. Something was jamming their channels. General Tarsal paced back and forth in the war room, a look of disbelief etched on his face. "This cannot be happening," he muttered. "We've destroyed human colonies. We've wiped out their fleets. How can they still exist?" The officer in charge of the communication station spoke up, fear in his voice. "Sir, we're receiving multiple distress signals across the galaxy. Terran technology is lighting up everywhere. Every forgotten ship, every station. They're waking up, and we cannot stop them." A hushed silence fell over the room as the implications of the report sank in. "They never left," Tarsal whispered, more to himself than anyone else. "They were here all along, waiting for the right moment." Across the galaxy, other species began to feel the ripple of the reclamation. The Zorith Empire, the Krogar Dominion, even the peaceful Arelis. Their once secure hold on the galaxy began to falter as more Terran signals emerged. Humans had left their mark everywhere, in every star system, in every battle, and now, the ghosts of the past were coming back. A Zorith ambassador on a neutral space station slammed his fist on the table. The Terran reclamation. They should have never been underestimated. They were more than just warriors. They were visionaries. The Arelis Council, a peaceful race known for their wisdom, now found themselves questioning everything. They had studied human culture, their art, their technology, and now they were faced with the undeniable truth. Humans had not died out. They had only been biding their time. Councillor Telestra stood in front of the Arelis assembly. "We were wrong to dismiss them. The human spirit, its creativity, its ability to adapt, to survive, is unlike any other in the galaxy. We must prepare, for if they are waking up, it means they are coming for something more than just revenge." Back on the Velari warship, Ralvek found himself face-to-face with a Terran war strategist, a human named General Valen. Unlike the silent, cold soldiers, General Valen exuded an unsettling calmness. He was different, older, battle-worn. His eyes, though filled with experience, held a quiet fury. "Why did you wake us?" Valen asked, his voice sharp. "What do you think you can accomplish by disturbing the reclamation?" Ralvek was unsure how to respond. "We only wanted the technology. We didn't realize what we were provoking." Valen's lips curled into a grim smile. "It was never about the technology. You've woken a force that will bring balance to the galaxy, whether you like it or not." Ralvek's heart pounded. What was this force? What was the reclamation? And why did it feel as though the galaxy had just been sentenced to a future no one could escape? A sudden voice broke into the conversation. "Commander, the entire fleet is mobilizing. We are receiving communications from every corner of the galaxy. The humans are coordinating a counterattack. Their ships are awakening." Ralvek's mind raced as the significance of the words sunk in. "This isn't just a fight," he muttered. "This is an uprising." The first Terran warship to fully activate appeared in the star system of Velthera Prime, massive and silent, cutting through the void like a shadow. General Valen turned to the Velari crew, his voice filled with certainty. "The reclamation is here, and you, Velari, have just become part of history." Ralvek's stomach twisted. The galaxy was about to face the consequences of underestimating humanity, and it was going to be a lesson that would echo across every star, every civilization. The reclamation had begun. The stars above the galaxy shifted as humanity's long-dormant war machines rode back to life. Once scattered and presumed destroyed, the Terran warships now moved with a purpose unknown to the galaxy. Every ship, every fleet, and every soldier that had been lost or forgotten by time was now awakening, a force bound by a single terrifying objective: the reclamation. The first strike came quickly, as a massive Terran battleship, the Tyrant's Wrath, emerged from the edge of the Velari Empire's outer rim. It was a warship unlike any the galaxy had ever seen. A fusion of brute force and ingenuity, its design a blend of ancient technology and futuristic innovation. The Velari, still trying to regroup after the shock of the first attack, had no time to prepare. At the heart of the Velari command station, General Tarsal watched in stunned silence as their fleet scrambled to respond. "Activate the shields. All units to battle stations." He barked, his voice rising in panic. But the Velari ships were too slow. The Tyrant's Wrath fired its first volley, a barrage of missiles that struck with deadly precision, ripping through the shields of the lead Velari destroyer like paper. The explosion sent debris spiraling into space, disintegrating the ship in an instant. Tarsal gripped the edge of his command chair, watching in disbelief. "This isn't possible," he whispered to himself. "We've never seen anything like this. They shouldn't be this advanced." But humanity was always underestimated. The reclamation wasn't just a return of human might. It was a recalibration of power. And the first strike was only the beginning. Across the galaxy, alien factions were beginning to feel the impact of humanity's return. The Zorath Empire, one of the most feared forces in known space, was the next to react. In the grand halls of their imperial palace, Emperor Zorath was pacing restlessly. "We should have seen this coming," he growled. "The humans were always a thorn in our side. But now, they are a force that will not be ignored." Zorath's war council assembled in silence, each of them uneasy. Their empire, once invincible, now faced a threat from the depths of history. "We have always held Earth in contempt," said General Vrax, the Emperor's most trusted officer. "But their technology, we cannot ignore it any longer. We must act before they regroup fully." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "Prepare the fleet. We will confront this threat head-on. We will not allow them to retake the galaxy." Meanwhile, on the human warship Tyrant's Wrath, General Valen stood at the command center, watching as the battle unfolded on the screens in front of him. His fingers hovered over the console as he gave orders with precision. Every action, every movement was calculated. The reclamation was no longer a hidden operation. It was a full-scale war for the galaxy itself. His second-in-command, Captain Karasolis, stood beside him. "General," she said, her voice low and urgent. "The Zorath are already mobilizing. They won't wait long to retaliate." Valen nodded, his expression grim. "We're ready. We've been preparing for this moment for centuries. The Zorath will learn what happens when you forget humanity." The tyrant's wrath fired another devastating volley of laser beams into the enemy fleet, disintegrating another Velari cruiser. The Velari ships began to scatter, retreating into hyperspace, their morale shattered. "The Velari will scatter, but the Zorath, they are different," Kara said, scanning the intelligence reports. "They will fight back, and they will be prepared. We need to be ready for them." General Valen turned to her, a steely resolve in his eyes. "We will be ready. This is just the beginning. Humanity was never meant to be a footnote in history. We're here to reclaim our place." Back on Velthera Prime, the Velari High Command was in chaos. The once dominant empire had just suffered its first true defeat. Tarsal, still reeling from the destruction of their fleet, sat hunched over in the command room. "What now?" he muttered, rubbing his temples. "How do we stop them?" His aide spoke up, eyes wide with fear. "Sir, the humans are unlike anything we've encountered. The technology they possess is centuries ahead of us. We cannot defeat them with conventional weapons. We need a new strategy." Tarsal clenched his fists. "We fight fire with fire. Prepare the fleet. We'll build a weapon strong enough to crush them once and for all." But even as he spoke, the reports kept flooding in. Human warships were awakening everywhere. In every corner of the galaxy, humanity's technological marvels were coming online, one after another. The first strike had shattered the false security of the galaxy. The Zorath, the Velari, the Krogar, every empire that had ignored or crushed humanity for centuries, now found themselves facing a force that no one could have predicted. The reclamation had begun. And with each battle, with each victory, humanity's name was being etched into the history of the galaxy. The once quiet, forgotten race was now a rising power, one that would stop at nothing to reclaim their place in the universe. As the galaxy trembled under the weight of humanity's return, the atmosphere on the tyrant's wrath was electric with anticipation. General Valen stood at the command center, his eyes locked on the galaxy map before him, every movement of the enemy fleet tracked and analyzed. "The Zorath have gathered their forces," Karasoli said, her voice steady despite the growing tension. "This will be their last stand." Valen turned to her, his expression unreadable. "And we will make it their worst mistake." The communication channels were silent for a moment, the calm before the storm. On the other side of the galaxy, in the heart of the Zorath Empire, Emperor Zorath surveyed the war strategy holograms in front of him. His face was etched with anger and frustration. The human warships were overwhelming, too advanced, too relentless. "This ends today," Zorath hissed, his voice a cold whisper of fury. "We must end the Terran threat, or the galaxy will fall into chaos." His general, Vrax, stepped forward, uncertainty creeping into his voice. "We have the fleet, but they're warships. They aren't just ships, Zorath. They are a force." The Emperor's eyes glowed with dark intent. "And they will bow before us." As the Zorath forces readied themselves for their final assault, the human fleet prepared for battle in the silence of deep space. Valen's hands hovered over the holographic controls, issuing commands in rapid succession. Every battle, every conflict had led to this moment, the last chance to reclaim what was rightfully theirs. "Prepare the final strike," Valen ordered. "This is for Earth, for humanity." And then, without warning, the tyrant's wrath launched into hyperspace, a lightning-fast streak of devastation cutting through the galaxy as the human fleet followed in perfect formation. The first salvo came from the Terran ships, massive beams of energy that rained down on the Zorith fleet, obliterating the outermost defenses. The Zorith retaliated quickly, but their ships, though powerful, lacked the speed and precision of humanity's war machines. They were no match for the ingenuity that had once been lost to history. As the human ships maneuvered with breathtaking efficiency, the galaxy watched. A war like no other was unfolding, one that would reshape the very balance of power across the stars. Back on the Zorith flagship, the air was thick with tension. "We can't hold them off," General Vrax shouted, watching in horror as another Zorith battleship was consumed by a volley from the tyrant's wrath. "Our shields are failing." Zorith remained stoic, his eyes burning with fury. "We fight until the last ship. For the galaxy. For our empire." But the cracks were showing. The Zorith, in their arrogance, had underestimated humanity's resolve. The tyrant's wrath cut through the Zorith fleet like a knife through butter, the humans showing no mercy as they obliterated enemy ship after enemy ship. "This is not possible," a Zorith officer murmured. They're unstoppable." Back on Earth, millions of human eyes watched the battle unfold on the news screens. Their hearts raced with pride as they saw their ships, their warriors, and their resolve represented in the stars above. "They're coming back," whispered one young soldier, looking up at the sky. "We're not a myth, we're real." In the final moments of the battle, General Valen stood at the helm of the tyrant's wrath, his voice calm, but filled with the weight of generations. "This is the end for the Zorith Empire. We reclaim what is ours, and we show the galaxy that humanity never forgot." And with a final deafening blast, the tyrant's wrath unleashed its full power. The Zorith flagship disintegrated into a ball of fire and debris, and the remaining Zorith forces scattered in retreat. The battle was won. The galaxy had changed. Humanity, once thought to be lost to time, had returned with a vengeance. The fleets of forgotten warships, the long-lost soldiers, and the unmatched power of human ingenuity had proven their place in the stars. The galaxy would never be the same again. And as the last of the Zorith forces fled, General Valen stood tall, staring out into the vastness of space. The reclamation is just beginning. The stars glittered above, silent witnesses to the resurgence of humanity. The galaxy was now divided, those who stood with humanity and those who would face the wrath of its return. As the battle for control raged across countless star systems, one thing was clear: humanity had awakened, and they would not rest until their place in the galaxy was reclaimed. The tyrant's wrath sailed through the emptiness of space, its hull gleaming like a beacon of vengeance. The once forgotten warship had become a symbol of human resilience, and its crew, General Valen, Captain Karasolis, and the soldiers who had spent centuries hidden away in the shadows of time, were determined to make sure the galaxy knew the truth. Humanity was no myth. Back on the Velari command station, General Tarsal stood before the shattered remnants of his once mighty fleet. His eyes were wild with anger and fear, watching as the holographic map of the galaxy displayed humanity's advance. Every planet they touched, every fleet they dismantled, added to their growing legacy of power. "This cannot be," Tarsal whispered, his voice cracking under the pressure. "The Zorith are strong. They have the might. Why is this happening?" But as the Zorith and other galactic forces continued to struggle against humanity's resurgence, the humans were undeterred. They had the advantage now, the element of surprise, and more importantly, the will to fight. The tyrant's wrath entered a new star system, one on the cusp of war. "General," Captain Solis spoke, her voice steady as she observed the data stream before her. "We've intercepted a message from the Zorith Empire. They've deployed their entire fleet to this sector. It's a full-scale retaliation." Valen's lips curved into a faint smile. "Let them come. We will show them what happens when you underestimate humanity." The Zorith fleet was massive, its warships designed for sheer firepower. Their advanced technology made them formidable, but it couldn't match the sheer determination humanity brought to every conflict. As the Zorath ships moved into position, Valen gave the order. Open fire. A thunderous volley erupted from the tyrant's wrath, its weapon systems lighting up the dark void of space. The first wave of Zorath ships fell in a fiery explosion, unable to respond in time to the speed and precision of the human warship. The battle was brutal, and as each Zorath ship was destroyed, the galaxy's perception of humanity shifted even more. No longer were they a forgotten myth. They were a threat, a real, living, breathing force. The Velari and Zorath empires quickly realized that their earlier mockery of humans had been their greatest mistake. No longer could they afford to underestimate the tenacity, ingenuity, and sheer will of the human race. Humanity wasn't just fighting for survival, they were fighting for dominance. As the battle intensified, Captain Solis turned to General Valen. "We've defeated their fleets, General. We're pushing forward, but there are still more forces to reckon with. What's next?" Valen's expression was resolute, his voice unwavering. "We finish this. We reclaim what was lost, and we show the galaxy that humanity isn't just a force to be feared. It's a force to be respected." And as the tyrant's wrath engaged the final remnants of the Zorath fleet, Valen's voice echoed across the vast expanse of space. "The reckoning has come. This galaxy will know the strength of humanity." The stars shimmered as the once quiet species rose from the depths of history. The reclamation was far from over, but humanity had already begun to shape its future among the stars.